Name a missing person.
Don't you have this written down somewhere? I've answered it 1,000 times.
Name a missing person, please.
You've been in touch with our embassy down there?
Well, Senator, all they seem to know is that
ML
is missing.
Date of disappearance.
He's been gone 2 weeks. He could be hurt or tortured.
Time of disappearance.
I looked for him everywhere. But he's just gone. Vanished.
The Soul of Detroit.
After analyzing all the data, we still come to the conclusion that he must be in hiding.
You know damn well he's not in hiding. Our whole neighborhood saw him picked up by a goon squad.
I don't want to hear any of your anti-establishment paranoia.
Why don't you just go home? I'll find my
Host
by myself.
You asked it around, get your finger out of my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Hello, boys and girls. And that seems very demeaning to say that, so I'll just say hello, everybody. Good morning, Don. Don's on Facebook watching. You can catch the Soul of Detroit on the Facebook page for ML Elrick, or you can find it on YouTube as well, where we're at. It's Mark Fallhauer with you. ML Elrick, as you can tell from the open, is still missing. He is still not with us. He's still not in studio. That's 3 out of the last 4 weeks he hasn't been here, but with us, as always, Sean Windsor, sitting in MLC. How you doing, Sean?
A big seat to fill, you know. And where is Mike? I mean, reportedly Scotland. That's fine, yes. But yeah, 3 out of 4 weeks. It's his name is on the moniker in the title.
Exactly. Well, do you know, hey, by the way, do you know that intro? Do you know where that movie, what that movie was?
No.
It's a movie called Missing. Have you ever heard of it? The Sissy Spacek.
Yes, I have.
Have you really?
Yeah, I remember it was a big deal. That was back when Hollywood could make dramas that were talkers in our culture. That doesn't happen very often.
No, all Hollywood makes now is like superhero movies and cartoons for Pixar, and everything else goes to streaming. There's too much stuff out there right now. So,
but it is, yeah, no, but seriously, it's amazing what dramas used to be.
Yeah.
In part, I mean, we've replaced it with Ted Lasso, which is fine. It's all migrated to television, and that's good. Television's never been better. But the movie experience, going and sitting with 150 other people or whatever to watch Terms of Endearment or whatever, and Jack Nicholson talking about being an astronaut.
You mean all the Sony Classic entertainment movies? Remember that Sony Classic, the blue screen?
Yeah, I do. Or how about just things like, and I'm not saying this is good or bad, but how about, or that we necessarily need it, but how about things like Meg Ryan faking an orgasm in a diner? No. I mean,
I know what you mean.
But you just remember something, or Sharon Stone, crossing her legs.
Or all those great Mirimax films. What happened to Mirimax?
Oh, right, yeah.
Isn't that Harvey Weinstein's? Poor old Mirimax.
What came on? What was looping through cable? The cable's not even a thing anymore. It was looping through somewhere the other day. Enemy of the State, a Will Smith, Gene Hackman movie. It was a 90s movie, though, not one of the dramas we're talking about, but it's...
Miramax?
But
still got his name on there.
Do you remember, you watch 5 minutes of it, not even that long, and the handheld cameras and the jump cuts and all that sort of jaunty movement and just the way people talk to each other, the over-the-top shoot 'em. Everywhere you went, people were pulling guns out and shooting up offices and that sort of thing in those kind of movies. That's what... Jerry Bruckheimer. That's the producer I was thinking of.
Detroit's own, right?
Yeah, exactly. So those are mostly gone too.
I do want to mention right off the bat some of our sponsors. We'll start with the Caju Cafe, the pride of the East Side. If you're looking for live music, and of course ML, because he seems to always be at the Caju, the cafe is the place to go for live music. Wednesdays, karaoke. Thursdays, Billy Brandt, the Sugarees, John Hook of the Sequins. I mean, they are just loaded up with music every day of the week. Saturday, they have a Bob Dylan tribute, Before the Flood. And there's Sunday Fun Jam, just so many things. Check it all out at cajucafe.com. They even have Monday Open Blues Jam and Muscle Madness, where all you can eat mussels. So for more information, once again, find out what's going on inside and outside. They do have a great outside at the Caju Cafe. You can check it out at cajucafe.com. We are also brought to you by Hall Financial and Luke Nowacki, and more on them in a bit. But Sean, congratulations. I opened up the Free Press website, and you're at the top of the page again. Why is that? Because I always read your column, or is their new column that hot that it's at the top of the page?
Well, I don't think it's me. It doesn't have anything to do with me. It's the subject matter, right? What's the hottest team in our area right now? And they're not even playing. They're a couple of months away from their season still.
Okay, well, that's what drives me nuts about this, is that the article, I'm not ragging on you, but the article is a Lions article where you're just predicting the game. Some people would say that maybe that's a little lazy. Is that a little lazy?
No, not in the environment that we're in,
Well, the Lions are home run.
It's a business decision.
Well, which seems very un-Windsor-esque, I think.
No, it's just not as obvious. I mean, every single thing you write, you think about, is anybody going to care at all? So that's always part of the equation. It's just some are less obvious than others. This was obviously obvious.
But you were saying, because we didn't talk about it too much before the show, but you were saying that your editor was like questioning the choice for this column.
Well, it's funny because the Lions recently finished their organized team activities. The mini camp.
I like to call them the OTAs.
Yeah, the OTAs. The mini camp, and a week before that, or a couple of weeks before that, was the rookie mini camp, where the drafted rookies got their first practices. Dan Campbell, the Lions coach, calls them pajama parties because they're not in pads.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that I've ever been out for rookie mini camp as many times as I went, or just OTAs. Normally it's the beat guys out there, and not that many of them. But the media room was packed every time I went out.
They're out-of-towners, right?
There are some out-of-towners. There are more local people. Every columnist in town was there, right? There are more TV people. It's just, it's funny. I was talking to Mike O'Hara, the great longtime beat writer for the Detroit News, who actually now works for the Lions. He covers the team for the website, sort of in-house, who's been around the team since, I want to say, the 70s. I can't remember what year in the 70s. And he said, at least since he hadn't seen this kind of hype, not just hype, but the bigger thing is the anticipation, the excitement, since the early 90s, which is the last time the Lions won a playoff game.
Love that team.
And yeah, he said, even then, but even that team that got and lost the NFC Championship game to the Washington back then Redskins, I don't think people quite saw that team coming. So in his opinion, the last time there was this much buzz was the early 80s with the Billy Sims teams. Well, it's splitting hairs a little bit, but that's what's happening, right? We're talking about decades since this region has felt the way it feels right now. So I'm just trying to tap into that.
Yeah, people my age, I don't remember that. I don't remember a buzz like this, which makes me feel like it's just set up for a letdown. But
it could be, no, for sure. That's absolutely out there.
Well, to that point, you go through the schedule. You go through every single game. And
that's not lazy. That actually took some work and thinking about the other teams. And
okay, not lazy, but boy. See, I don't want to offend you, but I would just say that it reminds me of a mock draft because it's almost moot.
And I sort of used the word mock in the column.
Yes,
I said, and I was kind of trying to poke fun at myself. And that's how I pitched it to my editor. I said, look, we do mock drafts all the time, and they're silly and they're fun and people like them. How about let's do some mock predictions with the idea that we can keep changing it until the season starts?
Well, I think I'm in the minority because, obviously people clicked on this. People have read it. People love going through the schedule and talking about it and predicting it, where I'm just like, okay, when the game, you can't predict the NFL, first of all, because it's nuts.
They're predictions, and I don't like predictions. In fact, during the season, we have to do weekly predictions for Michigan State and the Lions, and that's the only sport where we really do predictions through the season. We might have to predict a playoff series. We haven't had those for a while for the Tigers, Red Wings, or Pistons. But, I detest them, man.
Well, it's fine.
I hate doing them. So the fact that I wrote a whole column doing this is kind of counterintuitive to the way I normally do business. But
whenever I see predictions, so I think of radio. Naturally, that's my background, right? So I think of people doing picks on the radio. And I think it's the dumbest segment you can do because everybody has their own pick, and all you're doing is really, you don't know. Nobody knows. And I used to talk to Jamie Samuelson, rest in peace, and he hated it too, but he had to do it. He's like, we have to do it. And now with gambling taking over everything, it's almost like it's a tie-in with one of your sponsors, and it's like, what does it matter what this person thinks is going to happen in the game and who's going to win? And how I should bet? That's stupid.
Nobody cares about what I think. I mean, sometimes people like to say, "Oh, you missed it, you're wrong," and throw it back in your face. So that's kind of fun for them, tear down the tear down the person in the newspaper, which is fine. But no, Mark, the truth is, I really wrote it because, well, one, I thought it would be fun, but two, if you actually look at the schedule, they have a legitimate chance, based on what we saw at the end of last year and the moves they've made this offseason. They have a legitimate chance to really start out well, even with an opening like loss at Kansas City. They get the National Football League stage themselves well with the Chiefs on Thursday night to open the season. And even with them losing, they've got a chance to start 6-2, 7-2, even 8-1 if you want to get radical. They pull out and imagine the buzz and hype at that point. So I looked at the schedule when it came out, a month ago, whenever it was, but I hadn't actually studied it and thought, wow, this actually sets up fairly well in theory. And that could be something. So that was why I really did it.
Well, after I read it, of course, I had to go to the comments to look, because I think you have them winning 12, and my first thought is, well, is that are people going to go? Oh, there's a homer. Those are homer picks.
You know what I predicted last season?
What?
9-8.
There you go. Well, look at you spread out.
And I didn't. And it's funny because I thought about taking a shot at my colleague in a column, and by saying if I were another kind of sports writer or another columnist of this paper, I would begin in this column with, "Hey, last year I predicted 9-8, and now I'm just adding 3 more wins, and I'm going to pat myself on the back." But I didn't want to do that to Carlos.
Well, and there was a comment right off the bat that's like, "Pretty rose color assessment from Shawn."
Yeah, I should have put the 9-8 in there. Probably would have helped my credibility.
Well, it's the you can't win, right?
But that was luck, because in the past I predicted 7 wins and they win 3.
But that's why you can't win, because if you do too many wins, people are going to say, "Oh, there's the homer pick." If you pick, what Vegas picks, then you're copying them. If you do it less, then you're just trying to be Drew Sharp or something. It's almost futile, and you can't win. But it's a fun column. It blows my mind how the Lions they drive everything right now in the sports world. The Pistons have the 5th pick in the draft coming up Thursday, and nobody cares.
No, they would have. They
No
had
one
the first pick. No. Look, man, the Lions are it's that way in most markets, right? The NFL is
king.
It is, and it's still the sport that I think brings us together the most. It attracts the most sort of different kind of fans from different walks of life, and I think that's a cool part of the NFL. Whatever else you think of football.
In baseball, people love baseball, but I think going to the game is far different than following a team.
No, for sure.
And catching up on them.
Baseball's lost its way a little bit.
It has. And speaking of which, if you want to catch a game, we have a way for you to maybe go gratis, and that's through the generosity of Drew Lane and Hall Financial. Hall Financial is giving you a chance to assault the buffet at the Champions Club with Drew's Champions Club tickets. All you have to do is call 866-CALL-HALL or visit callhallfirst.com/Drew. You can get a 5-minute mortgage review. Now's not a bad time to pull out equity if you want to pay off other high-interest debts or make home upgrades. They got a lot of things you can do with your mortgage. So if you're thinking about even buying a home, making sure you call Hall First. You get a 5-star certified pre-approval. Realtors love it when you get pre-approved and you go searching for a home. So they will be drawing a winner soon, but give Hall a shot. 866-CALL-HALL or callhallfirst.com. Now, let's go. I think we found our missing person. I have a feeling, though, just looking at him in the preview, that the connection might not be the greatest. Well, first off, he's got his camera vertically. Hello, ML.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Where are you at now? How long is this vacation going? Are you ever coming home? And where the hell are you? And turn your phone horizontally. There you go.
Tough crowd. I am at Jingling Geordie's, which is a pub not too far from the Royal Mile, where I'm watching a cricket match. And if you thought baseball was slow, try cricket.
Oh my God, what an elitist right now. I cannot understand the game of cricket. I've tried multiple times and I've just given up because it seems too stupid.
Everything you hit is in play. It's almost
exactly.
like if you've ever played.
So that would make baseball fun.
Yeah, we can go in the stands.
Yeah, we used to play a game where you would steal a base. You just play catch, and whenever you try and steal a base between pickle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like pickle. Wherever you hit the ball, you try and get to the other wicket and score a run. And this can take all day. You can run on a foul ball. You can run on something that's hit past the wall. The field is 360 degrees.
Games are like 7 days long, or they can be.
Yeah, and they skip the ball off the ground. A bowler, which like a pitcher, can just throw any piece of junk at you. And there's one particular pitch that's called a wicked googly. So it gets weird.
It almost sounds like a sketch or a bit, a wicked googly. It sounds so incredibly made up. So how long are you over there for? When you coming back?
Well, you guys are doing such a great job. Last week's show hit 152 in the news commentary podcast rankings. I think we may have found the secret formula.
Which is you remotely?
No, me at a pub, and you guys carry all the weight.
So before you go, not that we're trying to get rid of you, but,
yeah, a little bit.
But before you go, can you tell? And this is just for me. I know Mark doesn't care, but can you tell us what the Shetland Islands were like? Because you and I share that fascination largely because of the show, the television detective show.
Yeah. Well, before I get to that, above me here, you can see George Best, who was
one of the best.
Greatest football players of all time.
And hands down, one of the best drinkers of all time.
Well, he's reputed to have drunk here, but again, that probably applies to every pub in the UK and some in New York, because I think he finished his career with the Cosmos. But
yeah, he played in San Jose, and I want to say Miami or Fort Lauderdale as well. So
yeah, so Shetland was great. It's a beautiful place. It's a very small place, but just walking around or taking a bus, you can go see seals, you can see puffins, you can see prehistoric encampments. They have loads of seabirds, as you might expect from an island. And because it's so far north, it never really gets that dark in the summer. So it got kind of dusky around 3 or 4 in the morning, but otherwise it's generally kind of a bright place until the winter, when it rarely gets light out. But on our last day there, we saw them filming some scenes from season 8 of Shetland. And the woman, I'm going to mess up her name now, but she was in extras. She was Ricky Gervais's best friend. She was in a scene, and they were shooting it right outside this place where we had hoped to have breakfast. So she kind of owes me a scone.
Wow. So when you're on vacation, we'll let you go soon. But when you're on vacation, do you pay attention? Do you follow news? Or do you just totally disconnect?
No, I buy a local paper no matter where I go, even if I'm just going to Toledo, where we may have to go for vacation next summer, because this turned out to be a little more expensive than I thought. But speaking of which, people know that my Scottish heritage comes through in my finances. It costs 50p to pee at the train station, so I didn't.
Well, that's not just there, right? I remember getting into the train station in Amsterdam. I took a train from the airport and needed to use the restroom and didn't have any coins. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's definitely a thing. Hey, let's get your take on, because you're over there, a little cultural and food cross examination here. You mentioned scones. I saw a fabulous video the other day of several, I think they were in London, several kids that were young teenager age, maybe 11, 12, 13, and they were given biscuits, and then biscuits with gravy, and then biscuits with gravy and fried chicken, and they were really confused by the biscuits. They kept saying, these are scones, not biscuits. Biscuits are, of course, cookies over there, right? But where do you come down on scones? Because these kids, after they tried all this, and they couldn't imagine putting white gravy, lumpy gravy as they call it, which is actually sausage, on a biscuit. And I think they want to move to America now. But where do you come down on scones?
I'm very scone skeptical.
You need the Heimlich maneuver if you try a scone, right?
Yeah, scones with butter are okay. I'm not really into jam. But
you don't like fruit?
I much prefer to have some brown bread with a little Nutella and maybe some peanut butter. And of course, the cheese here is fantastic. I mean, they have so many different kinds of cheese. It's unbelievable.
Well, enjoy your vacation. Have a pint on us. I'm very jealous that you're over there. It looks like it actually does look like. I'd love to be in a pub right now somewhere in the UK. It's just it's a nice little happy place. He looks relaxed, doesn't he, Sean?
He does. You look handsome.
About the news.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing my Shetland soccer jersey. If you can see it
there, with the little commuter plane that flies to Shetland. Nice.
Yeah, the Logan Air. But and I had to buy a 4X, which makes me feel a little body sensitive. But I think it's just because everybody on Shetland, they're like the horses. They're about half the size of regular people.
Well, enjoy your time. We will see you here next week in studio, correct?
Yes, sir.
We
One thing I do want to tell you
yes.
about local news, the local news is reporting that there was a billionaire on that sub that disappeared on the tourist trip to the Titanic.
Yes, that was kind of where we were going next.
Yeah.
There's some really interesting touristy type things in the news, and starting with that submarine. I don't know if you want to hang on, ML, or not, or talk about it, but they're still searching. This is a touristy submarine. I believe it cost $250,000 to ride in it, so you can go down and see the Titanic. It disappeared. I heard there's like 7 ways to get the sub back, and none of them are working. So the thought is maybe it's trapped inside the Titanic, which will make the next group to go down in the sub pretty interesting viewing as well.
Yeah, four regular folks and one operator, right? Ocean Gate Expeditions.
I don't know if I would call him a regular folk. I can't find his name right now.
He's a billionaire. And let me ask you this, Mike, because you've been over there and you're a news guy, and this is a news program in a lot of ways. There was a really interesting tweet from a professor at Cambridge who wrote, so paying $200,000 to do entirely unnecessary shipwreck tourism will earn the state's resources and global sympathy should things go awry, but fleeing for your life and desperate livelihood merits being left to drown in large numbers as long as we are clear. So she's complaining about the coverage over there with a ship that sunk and a lot of people were killed within the last month of folks trying to get to Europe, someplace in Europe, I can't remember, for a better life. And she's talking about the differences in coverage between these 5 people on the submarine and those 70 or 80 people. I can't remember how many off the top of my head. And I'm curious if you've seen any of that play out over there.
Yeah, no, this Greek ferry has been in the news for days, and some of the reports now are saying that there were boats nearby. They kind of watched people, I guess, foundering because they didn't, the suspicion is they didn't want to get involved and pick up immigrants. Which I don't know whether that's true or not, but there's hundreds of people who are missing. They don't know how many people are missing because, of course, most of these people are undocumented. But now some of the reports are saying there may have been 100 children who were below deck who were lost, and we'll never have a full accounting of who is gone. But this is a tragic thing. And for people who don't care about foreign affairs and what happens in foreign lands and wars in Syria and things like that, the refugees are overwhelming most of these European borders, and governments have fallen because the somewhat progressive governments who welcome refugees are getting a lot of pushback from people who are sick of immigrants coming in and quote unquote stealing their jobs, although most of the jobs they take are like the jobs that our grandparents took, which is cleaning people's houses, running gas stations, picking produce, miserable jobs that people don't want to do unless they have to. So yeah, it's a horrible thing. And one thing about this billionaire who went down, he is the latest billionaire to go down because a Guggenheim drowned when the Titanic went down. John Jacob Astor IV, who at the time may have been the richest man in the world, he went down on the boat. But one guy who didn't go down with the Titanic was a guy named Ismay.
It sounded really cool in the Zoom.
The White Star Line. And commissioned the building of the Titanic. And after he survived, he was criticized. And one of the things he was criticized for was that he had ordered the reduction of lifeboats on the Titanic and another massive ship called the Olympic from like 48 to 16. And so for the rest of his life, he took a lot of grief for not only failing to go down with this ship, but making some cost-saving measures that prevented hundreds, if not thousands, 1,000 people from getting to safety.
One thing for Mike, for our listeners, and I'm sure you've read this in the coverage, but the submarine, which is about the size of a hot tub that's been turned on its side, is bolted shut from the outside.
Yeah,
and just the idea of that. I mean, never mind being down 13,000 feet, right? At the bottom of the ocean, but for the sub to handle the pressure of all that weight of all that water, they had to bolt it in. So even if, just the claustrophobia of that's not a word. It's just
a terrible way to die.
Yeah,
I mean, not that there's a great way to die.
But just the idea of being bolted in.
You know, it's funny. 60 Minutes did a big story on this sub not that long ago, and I remember watching it. My first thought was, "Ooh, I'd love to do that." And then in the 60 Minutes piece, it went missing for a few, I think 2 hours. It went off course, and I'm like, "Ooh, I don't know if I'd want to do that now." And here you have, I think the billionaire's name is Hamish Harding, who also just went to space recently. So this guy's just having a blast going all over the world and out of the world. But I take exception to that person that had that tweet because you can follow. So they're upset with the coverage. What, they don't think there's enough coverage of the Greek ferry
from her perspective. Yeah, I'm not making a comment. I don't know. I'm not
from
over
her
there.
Perspective. So are we bad people for being interested in this submarine more than the 750?
No, I think you can be
both.
You can be interested in both, right? And have some sympathy or empathy for both.
I don't know. That tweet just bothered me because it seemed a little and one of ML's favorite phrases, virtue signaling. Like, hey, I know this one individual billionaire is missing, along with 4 crew members, but here's 750 migrants trying to make a better life, and no one cares. When that's just not true. People do care.
Yeah, I don't know if it's virtue signaling or not, but
I mean,
as if he was Amish instead of Hamish, he'd be alive today.
For Christ's sake. Okay, goodbye. You're going out on that incredibly low note.
By the way, the background noise is great.
Well, I was going to say that the Zoom is kind of breaking up, and there's a lot of people.
It's good to see you, though. We're looking forward to having you back. Yeah, I don't know that I'll be here next week, though, Mike. So
what? Where are you going?
All right. On vacation.
All right, see you, ML.
Enjoy that pint, my man.
Cheers.
Where are you going, Sean?
Nowhere.
So you can't spend 2 hours doing the podcast?
I'm not doing it. I've made that mistake before. I want a week off. I don't want Tuesday to be. No, actually, I'm going to go to Vegas.
Are you really?
For summer league ball. Yeah.
Oh, I want to go to Vegas. Why not do a sub? Would you go, like, if that sub came up and like, hey, everything's fine, we found the guy, would you go?
No, because it's too small and you can't even stand up in it, right? I mean, you can barely sit in it.
So your problem with the submarine touring the Titanic is that you wouldn't be able to stand up in the sub.
No, it's being that cramped for that long. You know, at least on an airplane, you can get up and use the restroom when you're flying across the country.
Would you rather do what this guy did in the submarine and go look at the Titanic, or would you rather launch into space? Or
space. I mean,
really?
Even though it might be more I mean, who knows?
The view would be better.
Yeah, I'd rather go to space. Plus, the sub had you can't see anything. You go down there just to look at a monitor.
Really? I thought it had a big bubble.
You
can see out.
There's a bubble at the end of it,
and they have giant lights. But I mean,
yeah, there's a bubble at the end of it. No, I'd rather go into space. I don't know. I kind of agree with a lot of folks that are talking. I mean, it's a little macabre. It's a little, like folks coming to.
Because it's a grave site.
The idea of ruin porn in Detroit with some of the buildings. It just, I have no interest in that.
Really? What about the Colosseum in Rome? I mean, that's technically ruin porn.
Is it?
That's an ancient building. Yeah, half of it's destroyed.
Yeah, but it survived for however long it survived. It didn't.
Well, the Titanic
didn't start falling down and a lot of societal ills, right? I mean, I know eventually it probably did, but at least it had a little run.
But it had a little run, unlike the Titanic, which did nothing whatsoever.
No, I was thinking more of some of the structures that folks were coming to see in Detroit for a while, just looking at the destruction. That was the thing.
Okay. No, I know it still is.
It probably still is. Yeah.
The urban adventurers that like to take photos.
A lot of them from Europe, by the way, right? Young Europeans who are fascinated with Detroit.
Yeah, once again, I get it. Not everybody's going to like it, but I understand. I mean, we live by it, so it's kind of an annoying aspect of living in this area. Is that yes, the city is just cannot have the recovery we want it to, and they're coming and looking at it and then leaving.
But here's the question though about the submarine. Another question, not the question, but another question. I'm curious for your opinion here on this sub, and that is, I saw a couple of people, a couple of stories, sort of equating it to folks who want to go up to the top of Mount Everest, and how much the state should get involved. How much, in other words, if somebody has the resources and money to take a private expedition. And what was the cost? $250,000. Should they also incur the risk of, or have some kind of insurance if the state has to get involved to save them? I mean, that's an interesting thought. It's kind of it can sound heartless, but it's an interesting thought.
But when somebody is, don't we want that out of society where, yeah, okay, all hands on deck to save this person? No, I wouldn't mind sending them a nice bill after the fact. I mean, we do that with, you know how ice fishermen will go out and maybe the ice will break off and they have to be saved. And a lot of times they will send them the bill for being saved. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, that seems reasonable. But if somebody's stuck and a flood comes, then you go get them. Yeah, and you don't bill them. I mean, you go get everybody, right?
Exactly. That's kind of how I feel. It's funny you said Everest. There's a story I was reading last week about a Chinese citizen who was climbing up Everest, got separated from their guide, and was kind of frozen and dying. And another group of Chinese tourists are coming up with their Sherpa, and they saw her, frostbitten hands, just blue skin, but still breathing. And so they saved her. They didn't go to the top of Everest. They took her back down to base camp. They got her oxygen. The Sherpa and these groups saved them. And then they sent her a bill when she was better. I think it equated about 10 grand. And guess what? She don't want to pay it. She doesn't want to pay it. She paid about 2 grand. So Chinese social media, where I'm on all the time, constantly on Chinese social media, are just dragging this lady through the mud because she won't pay 10 grand for saving her life. I think when your life gets saved, don't you pay whatever you can, be it actual money or through your gratitude? You show a lot of gratitude. A lot of times it's with money. But don't you try to pay back the people that saved your fucking life?
The people that saved her probably lost out on the investment that they had to try to get to the top of the mountain. They didn't get to go to the top,
exactly, which is why they sent her the bill. And she's like, no, I'm not paying it. But no.
I mean, yeah, it's not the government. These are private folks that did this.
Yeah.
So show some...
But to your point, yes, the U.S. Coast Guard is looking for this billionaire, trying to help find the submarine to bring him back, and
they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't.
It's annoying as fuck, but yes, they should go get.
On the human level, just showing humanity, they should absolutely try to save anybody, no matter the circumstances, right?
And then you send them a massive bill, and hopefully.
I mean, think about what happens, and we know this probably more from fiction and from TV shows and movies, but it does happen from time to time. Somebody's out there and they've killed something, or they've killed somebody, and the police get them, or the police shoot them in order to stop them, but they don't kill them right away. They take them. The first thing to do is take them to the hospital and try to save their life, even though they just murdered somebody. That's the social agreement we have, right?
Sure. No,
we just don't just let them die just because of what they've done.
I understand.
You save their life and then put them through the justice system.
And the doctors save their lives. Now, I would say you don't have to be in as big of a hurry, maybe, for some of those people.
Well, I mean, I can certainly understand why people would think that, but you're right. But the police still get an ambulance there. The ambulance gets to the hospital, and the hospital tries to save the life of somebody who's probably going to end up the rest of their life in prison. And if they're in a state, maybe end up, save their life only to get them to the death penalty. So it's what we do. And we should.
That's a good point, because so often we see so many bad stories about police killing people, but think about all the lives they save, even for people whose lives maybe shouldn't be saved.
No, and I'm sure the police, there are probably plenty of individual cops or sheriffs or deputies or whatever that do not enjoy that or don't want to do it, but they're doing it out of duty, and it's their job, and it's the social pact we have as society, and I've always loved that.
What other social pacts with society do we have, Sean?
To let somebody take a break to the bathroom. No, I don't know.
Do you have to go to the bathroom?
We have to pay. We have to pay the piper, to speak.
I agree with you, but it's just the idea of these social contracts make me laugh. I don't know.
But we do. But if we didn't have them, then we'd just be. It'd be anarchy, basically.
There were two. Yes.
I mean, seriously, that's what we have.
That's why you have laws, but it doesn't seem like anybody likes to follow. People just follow whatever rules they want to follow nowadays.
Well, it's not just the laws. There's also a lot of other factors. We don't need to get into sociology and psychology here, groupthink, but shame, fear drives us a lot of, organization of society.
It's very, very deep.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to, I mean.
I wanted to mention there were two other kind of vacation death type stories.
You're obsessed with death, man, and
Who isn't?
vacations, and no, we all are, but I mean, you're obsessed with a particular kind of death.
Well, these next two are places I've actually been to, so it could have been me. One is the castle in Germany, in Bavaria. I'm going to mispronounce it, New Weinstein or whatever. It's what Cinderella's castle is based on, and anybody that's been there knows there's, in the distance away from you can hike up to it, is a bridge, a really long bridge over this deep crevasse, and a Michigan man. There were 2 other Asian women there, I think from Illinois, and he was kind of hitting on them. I think he allegedly sexually assaulted one, and it didn't go so well. So he pushed them off this thing 165 feet, I think, down, killed one of them. I mean, horrific story. But once again, all I can think of is, that's why I didn't like that bridge. My whole family made fun of me, but I don't like going on. It's not a fear of heights. It's a fear of heights in touristy areas where a lot of people go.
You foresaw the possibility of a sociopath pushing you off the bridge. You foresaw that.
Well,
at your tender age, how old were you?
Last time I was there?
Yeah, when your parents were making fun of you. How old were you?
Oh no! It wasn't my parents making fun of me. It was my wife.
Oh, your wife. Okay. Okay. So you weren't 14 or whatever.
No, but my family, my daughters who are 9 and 5, are making fun of me at Niagara because we did the Ferris wheel, and it's a control thing. I don't like being in a Ferris wheel because it stops.
Yeah, it takes forever to get off.
Thank you.
It doesn't just go, and then it goes around a couple times, but.
Then I'm sitting there looking at the bolts, and I just figure they're going to snap off because so many people are riding it and nobody's maintaining it. I know it's totally irrational.
No, we all
I
have
would
those.
get on a rocket tomorrow and go to space, which is far more dangerous.
We all have those. Without giving away too much of my secret bougie inclinations, I recently had some shelves put in the kitchen, and there are no brackets, traditional sort of brackets, braces under them holding up, right? So you can't see how they're held up. I watched them get built, and I had to do some wall repair and strengthening behind the wall to even prepare for these. But how to describe these brackets? You've probably seen them. They're basically, it's like having a male, and it's a I don't know, half-inch round, and you drill into the shelf, and you screw these brackets. But there's not a lot of backing on them. It's basically a rod that's 8-10 inches, however long you want, right? Yeah. And then the backing on that rod isn't more than a couple of inches, and that's where the screw holes are, and those go into the wall, the studs, ideally. But I watched them put in, and the brackets are horizontal. So in other words, they're 2 or 3 inches are wide and horizontal instead of vertical. And I thought, well, won't they have more stability if they're vertical? And the guy's like, no, they're fine this way. So every time I put a plate or a heavy mug or something on this shelf, that's all I can think about.
Yeah.
Is this going to be the plate that topples the whole fucking thing down? Excuse my language.
Well, I think you try to live logically, right? Like, it's
that's
not going
ridiculous paranoia.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty handy and have done things and can build a few things here and there, and I should know better, but for some reason it gets to me.
But that's why, these irrational fears of like riding a Ferris wheel or I don't know, walking. Well, that was the other death story, was the guy at the Grand Canyon, the glass bottom bridge that goes over the canyon that you can walk on. Some guy either jumped off or fell off of that into the Grand Canyon over the weekend. And it's like, I don't like those glass floor things, even though logically I know they're okay and I'm not going to fall through it, but I weigh too much and there's too many other tourists around.
Yeah.
And I hate them. I hate them with a passion.
It's like flying. Sometimes you look out the window when you're 33,000 feet up and you're like, why is the engine not falling off?
But I love that. Like, I love being in even small planes that move around, which are far more dangerous, I would think, than one of those bridges. But logically, I don't know, it kind of freaks me out. I can't get over it.
Well, and now your fears have been confirmed because some sociopathic asshole pushed some people off.
In a way, it makes it more fun because you never know what can happen.
So the expense, so somebody had to die for your fun.
To live dangerously.
Okay. Any other deaths you
always make me feel like I'm a bad person.
No. I'm just having some fun. I'm sitting in Mike's seat, so that kind of goes with the territory.
There you go. Hey, if you're
looking out judgment,
if you're looking to have fun, there's a good place you can go. It's the Irish Coffee Bar and Grill. They're one of our newest sponsors. If you've ever been to the East Side, you already know they have the best burgers in town. They are in Grosse Pointe on Mack Avenue, and they're serving up those awesome hamburgers for just $5 Monday from 5 to 11, and then on Tuesdays and Wednesdays they have sloppy joes you can get. Whenever you go, though, you're going to find great food, great vibes at a classic Irish pub, even run by a Kennedy. So there's nothing, I don't think there's anything more Irish than that. And of course, ML will be there, so you can feed him. If you go to Irish Coffee Bar and Grill, you can feed ML because he'll be there. It's almost like he's a zoo animal. He wants you to go to all these places where he's going to be so you can feed him.
Yeah.
Thanks for that contribution.
No, absolutely. No, you're right. That's great.
And to make all the money to feed ML, you need to invest. You need to make your money grow. That's why we recommend Luke Nowacki, Pinnacle Wealth. If you have questions about your financial future, if you're wondering if you're even going to be able to reach all your financial goals, call Luke Nowacki at 248-663-4748. Free consultation. He'll help your money make money, so maybe you don't have to work as hard or as long into your life so you can go on vacation and possibly die. How's that for a promo?
Oh, back to the death on vacation.
Because Luke Nowacki, he makes it all about you. Sweetheart. All about, oh, jeez.
Where's the music?
It's right here. Hang on.
Come on, man.
Juggling too many things right now.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Royal Alliance Associates Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates Inc.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
Shawn, did you bring a Geek of the Week?
No, I knew you would.
Oh, come on, man.
It's not my thing.
Boy, you really do need this vacation coming up.
Do I? Why? Because I didn't bring a Geek of the Week?
Yeah. I can't believe you won't join us next week. It's all right. I'm just going to guilt you into doing it.
Okay.
No, my Geek of the Week is a guy named Nicholas Maluga, and I'm sure you're saying, who the fuck is that? Nicholas Maluga. Nicholas went to a concert over the weekend. It was the BB Rexa concert. Do you know who BB Rexa is? Have you ever heard of her?
Oh, yeah. I read a story about her recently.
Did you see what happened to her?
Somebody threw a phone at her and hit her in the head.
Smack in the face, and ended the concert.
She had to have stitches.
She had to have stitches. She had a black eye. It ended the show. I mean, everybody that went and paid money to go see her was kind of, just pissed off because, hey, what happened to our show? Because this asshole threw his phone at her. Now, thankfully, everybody else had their phone in their hand and they were filming it so we could watch it. And he actually says that he was trying to see if he could hit her with the phone at the end of the show because it would be funny. Like that's what he claimed, which is what an asshole. And therefore, that's why he is our Shawn
Geek of the Week.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
All right. Room 7609. This is ML's, I think, favorite part of the show, where he dives into new wave bands. And I spent way too much time trying to find a song this week, unless you had one, Shawn.
Not a new wave song.
Which, by the way, when you had that song, I cannot remember the name of the artist.
Abby May.
Abby May. A lot of people like that, so maybe you need to get involved in picking the song more often.
Oh, people like that, eh?
Yeah, but I was thinking...
I'd be happy to do that. Oh, Mike's coming back, so...
ML doesn't ever seem to pick many female acts, which I can hear him. Let me see. Yep, I can hear him yelling at the podcast of all the female acts that he has picked in the past. So I was thinking of new wave female acts, the Bangles, because I don't go that deep. But then I was thinking of the Go-Go's, and didn't want to do the popular ones. The song did chart, though, so maybe it is popular. But it's Turn to You. Do you know this song? And to me, there's a very interesting local area connection. Turn to You with the Go-Go's.
I like it already.
turn to you. Please let me turn to you. Just wanna turn to you. Why not let me turn to you? Come on, let me turn to you. I wanna turn to you. Why not let me turn to you? I just wanna turn to you. Please let me turn to you. Why not let me turn to you? Why not let me turn to you? Please let me turn to you.
So does that get the Sean Windsor?
I like that. That's fun. It's got some energy.
Seal of approval. I like the Go-Go's.
Yeah, they're fun.
Part of their allure to me, too, is what rock stars they were. And what I mean by that is what partiers they were. They partied hard.
Do you confuse Belinda Carlisle with Brandy Carlisle?
Who's Brandy? I don't know who Brandy. Oh, is that is she a country singer?
Sort of country, kind of folk.
I know who she is.
Yeah.
She's yeah, I know she is. That song is Belinda's least favorite Go-Go song too. So whatever.
Oh, really?
That's a little bloop fact for you. And if you watch the video, and I watched it, I'm like, wait a sec, that guy looks really familiar. It's Rob Lowe is in that video before Outsiders, before he was Rob Lowe. So it's kind of a fun video.
So you're like, who's that handsome fella?
Yeah, but the local angle on this is that song was written about former Dodger pitcher. I can't remember.
Oakland A's.
Oakland A's, Dodgers 3 times.
Yeah, I think he probably moved around, but he made he was best for the A's, right?
And it's Bob Welch, who born in Detroit, pitched. Oh boy, where did he pitch? High school in Hazel Park, and then went to Eastern Michigan in the 70s. Eastern Michigan, by the way, was in the World Series. They were the World Series of baseball or Baseball World College Baseball World Series runner-up in 1976. You don't think that Eastern would ever had that much success, or at least I don't. But Welch was on that team, a very dominant team. And Bob Welch very famously also was an alcoholic and wrote a book about it. And he met up with the Go-Go's in the early 80s because I think Belinda Carlisle was dating a Dodger pitcher. And that's when he was drinking a ton. That's when they were partying a ton. And so he got together with the guitarist Charlotte Caffey. And it was not a match made in heaven because there was too much partying going on. And that's why she wrote that song. If you look at the lyrics, I mean, it's a kind of like a breakup song, or why is this guy such an asshole type song? It doesn't sound like that because it's got such a poppy feel on it.
By the way, that's why you and I can't hang out, because there's too much partying.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Too much booze.
I've seen you outside this studio.
What does that mean?
You were enjoying yourself. Let's just say that.
Are you just saying that, or did you really? Where did you see me? Oh, at a tailgate, maybe?
Yeah, tailgate.
That's a different mark that comes out.
Yeah, no, I saw that mark. That's a fun mark too.
I can't wait for that mark to return.
That was still a kind. You weren't an angry.
I'm not angry.
No, you were very kind in that state. You know, some people don't. I mean, some people are. You know, the demons come out when they get a little freed up with the devil's juice. You know what I mean?
I'm not an angry partier by any. I'm not an angry person, I don't think.
No, you're not. A lovely person.
So kind.
And look at you stepping into Mike's role. This is a beautiful thing, man.
It just shows how easy it is. But yeah, Go-Go's turn to you from 7-6. I love the idea of saying all these things because he can't respond.
No, he can't.
Although I have a feeling that next week's show might just be a list of grievances he had about the last 2 weeks. But
I'm sure it could be, and it'll be too bad I won't be here for that.
Feel free to rate and review the show. Once again, please give it 5 stars. It helps, and then tell us how much you hate every one of us individually. That's the good way to do it. Or you can provide feedback. We had some feedback. ML sent them over, and they were one was praising you for your pick of 7609, and then a donation came in because of Sisters of Mercy month with ML. They were just happy that they played. You can also donate to the show, mlsoulofdetroit.com, little donate button there, and believe me, we appreciate every single penny that comes into the show. So send us all your feedback, and rate, review, subscribe us, spread the word, get us out there, because without you guys, there really is
no show.
Zero show. What else do you have coming up this week, Sean? What's going on with Carlos?
It's kind of a busy week, for June. What are we? Are we in late June yet?
Yes, yeah. It's almost 4th of July.
Yeah, normally you kind of start winding down a little bit, but we talked about the Lions earlier and all that craziness.
So are you going to keep writing about the Lions then till the end of the season? I mean, how do you mix it?
You mean until the beginning? Well, the problem is the camp starts early this year. It starts in late July. It started a week early. I think they did that because they start on the Thursday night to open the season ahead of everybody else. So
but in all honesty, how many angles and stories can you find about this team?
Well, we're going to have to. I mean, I'm not going to go out there every day, but it's not going to be like in some years past where I might check in once at camp or twice at camp,
sure.
and then for August, and that's it. It'll certainly be more than that. So for the rest of this week, Steve Yzerman's going to talk soon about the upcoming NHL draft. Troy Weaver, the general manager of the Pistons, is going to talk, and the NBA draft's Thursday night, so I've got that.
Let me ask you this. Were you there? You were at Lions camp last year, right? Obviously. Or at least not as much as this year.
Yeah, I was there a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so Hard Knocks is there, correct?
Yep.
Is there a different... I mean, I always think when there's a camera around, people act differently, without a doubt, no matter who has the camera.
I don't think on the practice field, I don't think it matters.
Okay.
That there are cameras out there all over the place.
That's
I mean, these guys
you tend to forget about it.
Yeah, they do. They play in front of cameras. You do tend to forget about it. You've been in front of a camera occasionally, right?
Well, that's what I was going to say. One camera, you know, right? People will act differently if you have a camera on. I mean, just pull a camera out anywhere.
But if it's there long enough, you start to forget.
Or if there's a bunch of them, you start to forget, which is kind of paradoxical.
No, or for players, NFL players that are used to being on stage at least once a week, all fall, right? So they can probably forget too. I don't know how much it changes the cameras that go inside the film rooms, the meeting rooms. I don't think they go in the locker room, but they do go into a lot of places that reporters, regular reporters that cover the team don't go. So maybe that was an adjustment.
I was just curious, but
they're there all camp, so you're going to get used to them.
Because you're talking about the buzz, and there was a buzz last year because HBO was there. I would assume it's a different type of buzz.
Yeah, it is, and even just the way the team, it's hard to tell much. They don't even have pads on when they're in the mini camp, but there's some swag to them. We'll see. I mean, they're going to have to win or they're going to lose it real quick, but there's a little swag to them. It's funny.
This city might just...
city
is going to explode if they do well, and oh my God,
if they don't, it's going to
deflating.
Yeah, it's going to be really painful.
If they start off 0-3.
But if they really do well and actually win a playoff game, I mean, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
No, but seriously, can you imagine what that'll feel like for the folks that love this team?
I'm old enough to remember when they were in the playoffs and they won their one playoff game since 1957. I remember that in that play that Silverdome was awesome. It was just a great atmosphere.
It was. Well, when they beat the Cowboys, right? Yeah. It was crazy.
They destroyed them, and then of course they lose to the Redskins.
Yeah, but even that game was 91. So what is that? 32 years ago?
Wow. Yeah.
32 years.
Oh, God, this franchise.
A single playoff game, 32 years.
One depressing franchise.
I know. But it might just, who knows? I mean, maybe they've stumbled into something that's really good. We'll see.
We'll check out all of Shawn's writing and, of course, the podcast, the Shawn and Carlos podcast. And, yeah, thanks for joining us, ML. We'll be back next week. Shawn will be gone, and maybe one of these days the whole band will be back together. But until then...
Cyrus, take us out.
Thank you.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
What stupid thing did ML do?
He was a bit of a snoop.
Your son's a pretty popular guy around here.
Poked his nose around in a lot of dangerous places.
Do you think he's dead?
I'm not going to leave this country till I find
ML Elrick.
Alive or dead. Just go anywhere, in any way. You can tie my hands, you can blindfold me. I just want my boy back.